Kris Van Cleave is at LaGuardia Airport right here in New York City with more. So, Kris, Oscar Munoz promised to conduct a thorough review of United's policy. So what does that look like?
Well, that's going to be sort of an after-action, what went wrong sort of exercise here, and that's going to look at everything from how the airline moves crew, what sort of incentives and how they go about the process of trying to get volunteers to come off a plane, even how and when they deal with law enforcement, when they bring in police or security like they did in this situation. Of course, that's where things really went wrong here, was once the aviation security officers were on board the plane and that security officer decided to forcibly remove this passenger.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, Kris. You've been covering the transportation industry for some time. It feels as if this incident has just really touched a nerve with so many people around the world as more and more passengers suffer the indignities of travel. So how does the airline move on from something like this, or do they?
Well, I think you're right. I think this has struck a nerve with flyers after years and years of feeling nickeled and dimed, and like the space on the plane is shrinking, and that all of that flyer frustration that people feel about the airlines in general is coming out in this incident. And certainly there is plenty of room to criticize United and the aviation security officers for how this transpired. But it's tapping into a deeper anger, certainly. So if you're United, there's going to have to be a very clear mea culpa period, and I think we've entered that now, where you're going to see the CEO continue to be apologetic. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a marketing campaign about trying to regain the status as, their moniker is the Friendly Skies, and none of this was friendly. So it's going to require rebranding. Wouldn't be surprised if you see some discounting happen in the short term to get people flying and get people experiencing United. But also there's going to have to be a real effort to change the conversation. If you think back to 2007, JetBlue had that disastrous snowstorm where they left people stranded at JFK Airport for hours and hours and hours. They immediately put in a customer bill of rights and really made a push to deal with some of that customer anger. There's a very excited dog walking by, guys.
There's dogs that I hear. We thought
he's a big fan of CBSN. He's just very excited.
After your hit, you can give him a doggy treat. I know you carry them around with you.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, Kris, one of the things that I think a lot of people are going to be looking at when it comes to this situation is, first of all, the federal government is looking into this situation. I think that is going to give people pause, and certainly United. And the other is, look, perhaps we've reached a tipping point. I mean, you very clearly stated that there's been shrinking leg room. You've got to pay for your luggage now. And perhaps, and what always seems to have been the MO of the airlines is to say, well, we're not at fault here. It's always the passenger's fault. And it seems that we've maybe reached a tipping point beyond that.
Yeah, I think certainly one thing that's become clear is that United Airlines has not handled now two social media PR crises very well. I think back 2 weeks ago we were talking about leggings. Right. There are some issues clearly at United with how they respond to these situations. That has been, as you heard in our reporting, people have called it tone deaf. We're just sort of out of touch. So certainly there, but you have lawmakers that are calling for some additional flyer protections. Unclear if that has any real chance of passing, given all of the other legislative initiatives that seem to be priorities right now. But you have a Department of Transportation inquiry that's been launched. There is going to be some attention here, and it is a pretty clear message to airlines. Here's what happens if somebody is mistreated and your response doesn't go over well. I mean, it has been an epic failure from a PR standpoint, and the cost, when you look at not only what it did to their stock yesterday, but sort of the loss of goodwill, that's going to be measured in the millions, if not the billions of dollars for this airline.
Yeah, and somehow I don't think passengers really care that the airlines are losing money. Kris Van Cleave reporting from LaGuardia Airport. Thank you, Kris, as always.